people today. They could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Welcome to AARP Illinois' virtual event. It's so wonderful to have you with us. AARP is on a mission to connect with individuals across various communities, especially those aged 50 and above. We're here to listen, understand, and address the unique needs of you and your community as we age. Our goal is to enrich your experience by expanding our local activities, providing opportunities for you to discover and engage with all that life has to offer right here in your own community and virtually. As we journey through today's event, we invite you to consider joining our dedicated team of AARP volunteers. It's a chance to make a meaningful impact and help us better serve those 50 plus across the nation. Connect with us and be a part of this vibrant movement toward positive change. Welcome, and let's make this event both fun and transformative.
Hello there, AARP, Amanda Pyle coming to you today from Morton, Illinois. It is October, it is pumpkin season, it is fall. It's starting to get a little bit more chilly outside, well, hopefully soon. I don't know where you all are, but today the high is 92 in Morton, Illinois as we approach October. Today we're going to be having another episode of My Crafty Corner, and we're going to be making some awesome monogram door hangers. I've made a couple of versions already ahead of time just to kind of show you seasonally different ideas that you could have. Also, that you could stand them up or you can hang them up. This is a really simple, easy project with easy to grab items from your local craft store or super center or even online. It's a great craft for you to be able to do with somebody at home that's stuck inside, needs a little project to do to spruce up their front door or even the window or even on top of an entertainment center. This is also a great project to do with kids. Your sister, literally anybody. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you what I've already made ahead of time. So the first one is this P, which my last name is Pyle, and actually my stepmother made this for me many years ago, and she has passed recently in the last couple years, and so I thought I should include this in our video today and just kind of show you where the idea originally came from. So this one is made from some really well constructed wood, probably something that you would have hand cut from Etsy or something that you could get at like Menards, Lowe's. It's pretty heavy duty, as you can see. The thickness of this wood it's pretty thick. It's very heavy. So whatever you do use to hang it, it's going to have to be pretty sturdy. So they've used a burlap hanger. This actually in my house hangs on my wall amongst a collage of pictures of my family. Something that I did notice about it, it depends on what letter you're doing as far as how that's going to hang. So for example, if I hang my P like this, it ends up kind of crooked on the wall. So I've got to use some nails to kind of get it to where it hangs evenly. I think I actually hang it from inside of the hole and then put a nail here so it keeps it from wanting to turn like this. So depending on the letter, you might have different challenges as far as how they hang on your door or how they hang on your wall. All right. The other one I made an H for my daughter, who's Henley. And this one here is a fall piece. Now this, if you want to go a little bit cheaper, this letter here is made of cardboard. I got it at Hobby Lobby and it was about $6.99 or $7.99, something like that. Really nice and lightweight, really easy to paint. Picked up any color that you wanted to do, and I did the front, I did the back, I started with yellow and then just washed in some other colors like gold and gray, just because our doors in our house are really like kind of like an espresso dark color, and I thought this would look really pretty hanging on her door of her bedroom in the hallway. So I did it with some fall colors. You could literally swap those out and do spring if you wanted, like the other one I've shown you. Today we're going to do another fall piece. So this one's really nice and lightweight. If I were going to hang it on the door, I'm probably going to just hot glue some of those little hooks that flip up so that I can put tiny little tack nails in the door so that it can hang nicely. But yeah, this is really great because it's nice and lightweight. I don't think you're going to need screws or anything heavy duty to hang it. Depending on where you're hanging it, you could even use some of those sticky hooks that you could buy literally anywhere. The floral, I got some from Hobby Lobby, and then I also got some floral from my local super center. This here has a burlap ribbon and with an orange on it. You don't see it too much unless you're looking at it from a different way, but depending on where you put it, this one here can kind of stand up on its own. See if you can see that. So it could also be like amongst picture frames on like a hutch or something, and not necessarily need to be hung. Today I'm going to do another P, so this is another option. This one here is also wood. I got it from Hobby Lobby. You can see it's a lot thinner. It's a lot more lightweight, so I think that it's going to be a really nice piece to be able to hang on the door. Again, I'm probably just going to get some of those hooks that typically you would tack into the back of a picture frame, but I'm just going to super glue those on and see how it hangs just from the top of the P. Because what I experienced from the other one is if I actually hang it, you know, depending on where my ribbon is, it might hang kind of off center. So I'm going to try hanging it with a piece here and a piece here this time, but kind of lower in on the P. So the first thing I need to do is get started and paint this a color. And I'm going to do a solid color first, and then if I want to add more colors later, I can do that while the paint is still wet, or I can sand off the paint as it's dry and add in another color after that. So we're going to keep it simple. I've got these chalk finish paints that I really love from Walmart. And this one here is kind of like a hazelnut color, which I think is going to look really pretty with the fall flowers. So that's the first thing you need. If I get that on there and I feel like I want to lighten it up a little bit, I've got this maize corn yellow that I've been using in a lot of our projects lately. And then I've of course got my burlap, a nice thick roll. I think this was about 4 inches wide. And then I've got my orange to kind of go over the top, but this could be any color. The blue one in the background was done in that chevron burlap, and that looks really good too, but I struggled to find that in the colors I was looking for, so I'm going with this route. And then of course you're going to need some paint brushes for applying your paint to your letter, which literally you can find at any craft store. You can also order them online. And then this here, I've got some fall flowers that I really like from Hobby Lobby, and then also from Walmart. Now this is going to be way more than what I need, so I'll just have to find another project later to tuck those into. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, I've got my P here. First thing I'm going to do is give my paint a really good shake. Get my paper plate out, which is going to be my palette. Gonna pour a little bit of that out. Not too much. I don't want to waste. Everything's expensive right now, so we may as well save where we can. All right, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and get started applying this onto my P. And again, if I want to lighten it up later, I can, but I like to see how it goes on first. So I have a dark espresso door that I'm thinking about hanging this one on, and so I thought it would look kind of cool with a light espresso P. So there's a couple ways to get those colors kind of in there. If you wanted other colors, you can apply them while they're still wet. So get your full base coat on like I'm doing right now, and then go on it in before that dries with another paintbrush and paint in some other colors. Golds would look really good in here. So that's one way to do it. The other way would be to apply a color like we are now, allow it to dry, then apply a second color, allow that to dry, and then go back in with a sanding technique. So some just very, not super porous sandpaper, but like the light grit, and just sand off in certain spots so that that undercoat color comes through. And you can sand as much as you want to see that undercoat color. So a couple different ways to add some different colors into your letter. I really like this espresso color. This is really pretty. I have never used it. And I do paint the front and the back, and definitely these little inside nooks and crannies as well. Just a little more paint, especially if I'm going to do the back. There we go. Any little paintbrush around the house will do. All right. So we've got one side done. I'm just going to finish up here, and I'll meet you back, and we will get this decorated with some ribbons and some floral. Alright, I'm back. I have finished up painting the whole front of my pea, this beautiful hazelnut color. You know, I decided I'm not going to see the back of this ever because it's going to be flush on my door. So I've decided to save a little bit of paint and not paint the back of my pea. So save a little time and energy if you can. Alright, next step is going to be to take some of this beautiful floral that we've got, and we need to cut it right down here where the stem kind of is. That way it can be tucked into our ribbon. So that's going to be our next step. So I'm just going to set this aside so that I don't get paint on my floral. And then I'm just going to kind of decide what it is that I want to put in to my beautiful monogram door hanger. So I've got this espresso color. I feel like I need to lighten this up, but we know that we're also going to have this burlap with this orange. So I'm just kind of color matching here and saying, okay, what do I not have? So I've got the brown, I've got a lot of bright pops of orange, so I'm thinking I need a lot of yellow to lighten this up, and definitely some white. I have not put any of these berry type looking pieces into any of my fall decor, so I'm going to add some of those. And wire cutter scissors would be best here, but whatever you got can work. And then I'm also going to use some of this white. This was really easy to cut. I put a lot of this in the H that I did here behind me, and it's really easy to tuck in as well. So I'm going to start cutting these off so that we've got some floral to add. Really like these little baby's breath type looking things as well. And I like to get a different variety and colors, like in shapes and colors, as well as what kind of flower they are. Of course, they need to go together for whatever season that you're building your piece in. And the letter is going to decide where you put your ribbon. So usually you need to kind of find a center focal point on there. All right, got our white pieces cut. I'm going to start with that, see where it gets me. just starting to gather all of my pieces. I don't know if I'll actually use all of these, but at least I'll have them available. Because once you get your glue gun on, you really just want to have everything kind of ready to go. And then depending on where you get your floral from, a lot of times they're as easy as just popping them off the top so that you can avoid cutting and heavy scissor work. So we're going to start with that. We're going to see where that gets us. All right, and then the next thing we need to do is cut our burlap piece and our orange ribbon. And we don't need a super huge piece, and again, where you put your ribbon on your letter is really going to depend on which letter that you are decorating. So since I've got my P here, I like that first P that we did where we banded it right here. I'm not sure there's anywhere else you could go with it other than maybe right up here you could do it. But this here uses the whole stem of the P to be able to add that floral to it. So if I wanted to cut this, I know it needs to wrap around as well. So I'm going to go about 2 times that much. Just to give myself a little extra, I can always trim it off. Also, we might want to double wrap that just so that it looks a little bit more tidy. And then I'm going to measure out my orange and give myself the same amount. And we'll start in the back. And I'm just going to kind of pull taut to where I can tuck that underneath, because I don't want to see the seam where I'm going to glue it. And then I'll wrap it the second time around. Make sure I got everything tucked in. And where's that going to meet up in the back? Let's see. Ooh, that's a perfect spot. I just don't want to see the glue or the place where I'm gluing it on the front. So I think that's really nice. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my glue gun here and get it ready. Glue gun doesn't need to be anything special, just whatever you got. Alright, and then I've got my orange band. I'm probably going to cut some of that off because I do not want that to overlap. But I can kind of use my P as a guide. I'm probably going to cut that about right here. Perfect. And you can see I'm already messing with this, and I really didn't let it have too much dry time. That's one thing I absolutely love about the chalk paint, is that it dries really, really quick. So you can get your projects going from start to finish without a lot of downtime in between. Now, if you wanted to do the wash in another color look, that would take a little bit longer. All right, so this is kind of the look that we've got going on so far. I really like the orange with the espresso. And then we're just going to kind of start tucking in flowers. So I always like something really big and tall in the back. And I haven't glued my pieces yet. Right now I'm just kind of placing things to see where I might add it. And I really like these flowers as kind of, or these feathers, as kind of the back focal point, kind of like that, because I think it'll be the tallest thing in there. And then anything I save the sticks to, I can kind of thread down. And we can't do much till we glue our ribbon in place as far as the flowers, but I just kind of like to get like an idea. Like, do I have the right amount cut? Do I like the colors? As you can see, that white really makes it pop, so I cut a lot of those. And they're easy to work with and easy to tuck in too. So I'm going to do a few of those. I can see that I really like the way the color is going here. I also cut this big white sunflower to kind of bring it all together. And then the rest of the floral will come out the back. All right, let's get gluing and we'll see how it all looks. But I like where it's going. And then we'll just keep tucking in more and more and more. All right, So first things first, we're gonna glue our burlap onto here. And I have tried several other glues, and the hot glue is the best. It works the best. It happens quickly. Just be careful with your fingers right here. And I'm not gluing the burlap to the front yet. I'm just gluing it shut so that it's on there right now, because I want to be able to tuck those flowers down inside. And if I glue it down to the wood piece, right now I'm not going to have space for my flowers. But I will go back and secure that later on. Also, you know, since it is burlap, it's kind of meshy. It went right through those holes. So this little line of glue that I've given it right now is definitely going to help adhere it to the wood piece initially. And then I'll do my orange piece, and that just helps that secure that on even more. All right, there we have it. So, as you can see, this is really loosey-goosey right now, which is great because we want to tuck our flowers in there. All right, so let's go ahead and put in those feathers first. And I like to kind of place them in, and then I'll go back and add the glue. So just like we did before, just kind of put them all back together. Where was that? Okay, I have this really long piece I was liking. And I don't want to see my stems come out the bottom. So if they're too long, you can cut them off. I also want to be thinking about where I want to put this white sunflower. Because do I want to cover up my ribbon completely? It probably needs to go about right there. That way we can see the ribbon, and then we'll still be able to see all of our floral that's coming out of the top. Let me see if I like that better with yellow. Ooh, that's pretty too. I'll have to decide which one I like after I get all the other stuff in. Alright, so we've got just a couple pieces going on right now. Going to tuck in some of this white that I really like. And I like how that white really brightens that up. So I'm using a little bit extra of that probably than the other items that I'm putting in. Very pretty pop of red there. Don't really like that. And you just kind of have to play with the colors and the different flowers and kind of see what you like together. Definitely spread them out so that you are evenly distributing all of your different options. All right. I feel like that's almost enough because I don't want to overdo it with my big flower. So now let's see what we like better. Yellow with all of that. I think definitely the white. And so I'm just going to go ahead and place that down where I want it. And I'm going to start kind of gluing what's already in there into its spot. And I like going along the top and then pushing the burlap down on top of it. This adheres the burlap to the floral. And be careful because it's very hot. And then you can kind of go underneath a little bit and lift up where you can and just tuck some glue underneath. Like so. And then we've got this nice space in the center that we have left for a big old sunflower. Put that down. I like this because it's still showing off a lot of my color on my ribbon. And I'm definitely pressing that one down because by doing that, I can also press down all the flowers that needed that glue to adhere to the base, to our wooden piece. And then from there, it's just kind of a lift and glue. And after I glue, I try to do a little wipe on either the burlap or some of the floral, just to make sure that I don't drag that glue along with me. I really like this little pop of red right here, so I'm trying to move that around a little bit and get it out. And then I will glue that piece right down to the P. That way I can make sure that my red stays where I want it. Everything else is looking pretty sturdy here. Put a little glue underneath for your burlap there. Alright, and I'm just giving a little tug on each piece, making sure that in that process it got a little bit of glue. Now you can just kind of play with all of the other stuff that you have and see if there's maybe something you might want to tuck in there. I'm not loving the leaves. So I definitely don't like that. I like all the white pieces a lot. Ooh, this looks really pretty. So I like this, and I feel like I need to distribute it because I've already got one over on this side. So I want to evenly distribute another piece of this white. Got some glue down there. Press on my flower. Ooh, and there we go. That really looks nice right there. I'll give you a stand-up view here in a moment. Looking around to see if there's any other pieces that I'd like to add in. Yeah, I think one more little pop of red is what we're missing here. Go ahead and tuck that in with some glue as well. Give it a little press if you can. Alright, and then I've got a few more of these flowers, which are my favorite. So again, I just continue to kind of find the spaces that maybe need a little bit more color or need just a little bit more depth. And I'm loving this white. It really brings out the espresso color. And this fun flower is great because you can kind of bend it wherever you want to. Okay. We're looking pretty good. Alright, let's stand it up and see what we've got. So now here's our finished product, our pea that we made today. I simply just looped a little bit of that burlap and glued it right to the back here. You could also use a staple gun for that. But now that makes that hangable. And like I said, when you hang that, you might need to put a little nail tack if you have a P, because when you hang it, the larger part of the P wants to take all the weight. So, and you'll probably have that problem with other letters too. So this here gives you an option to either put a loop on it to hang it like that, or you could put some of those, like I said, little hooks on the back and super glue those on, and then maybe have a bit more success with that. But the loop still looks really cute on top, so you could just not use that part. So yeah, like I said, I think this total project costs about $12. Had a lot of fun doing it, and I have a lot of leftover scraps and other things as well. And then just to give you another idea, this is the one that we did out of the cardboard letter, so it can stand up on its own, or it can hang on a door, whatever you like better there. And as you can see, I used a lot of the same flowers in both of these, and was able to do both projects really fairly cheap. I would say this one here probably costs around $12 as well. Whereas you're going to a bigger letter here, a more sturdy wood, that chevron burlap, I would say this one here probably costs closer to about $25 to make. Nice little spring version as well. All right, so again, thank you AARP for joining me in my crafty corner. This is Amanda Pyle signing off. Hopefully we'll see your door hanger soon. Have a great